just going to kind of add to that. I think the other thing that we're finding with social media campaigns, and again with Twitter and even Facebook, they're kind of feeding in. But the ones that we found are most successful are the ones where if you're a marketer, a brand, or even a media company, you're giving something more to the audience or the user or beer drinker or music lover or sports fan or whatever beyond just sending them a message. So, I mean, that could be anything as simple as a prize for a contest or something like that, but as much as anything, utility, you're somehow saving them time and money online, and you've offered them something. The other one, particularly with media companies, because they have a huge amount of assets, is you're providing them a unique experience. So we did a program with CBC Sports where, as most of you know, they lost the Hockey Night in Canada theme song, or Let It Go. And basically it was a somewhat negative situation. We were able to turn that around by turning it into a contest, user-generated. And the experience was, if you're a hockey fan and you're a Canadian and you have affinity with Hockey Night in Canada, you care. And they received 10,000 submissions of people spending a lot of time putting in their entry. So
Yeah,
and that kind of was a success.
Hey Maggie, I want to go back in time to 10 minutes ago when you asked me what's my philosophy on all this as it relates to what Chris is saying now. One of my philosophies is to give more than you take. When it comes to success on the internet and all these tools, if you're constantly giving more than you take out of the system, you will be probably successful in all your endeavors online. So I think that's what you're speaking to.
Yeah, and I think that's true. Like, and then to the extent you extend that back to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, we get a lot of calls where people are kind of 6 steps ahead. And we were talking about this earlier, just because you can set up a Twitter account and you work for a brand doesn't mean you should. And you can set up a Facebook page, because, that was the first thing I did too with File Mobile. I was like, hey, Twitter, and I set up the File Mobile account on a Saturday. I was in the office by myself, and then I'm like sitting there, and I did a first tweet. I said, hey, I've set up the account. And then I was done.
I want to do a little survey real quick. Okay, so who has a Twitter account?
Wow.
Who is subscribed to searches on search.twitter.com on your name or brand? So, in the spirit of this kind of stuff and some of the work that I know that we're all doing, as much as everyone's telling you to get out there and get on Twitter, I think that if you're just standing there screaming and not really listening to what's going on, that you're probably not doing as good a job as you could be. So I encourage all of you guys who are using Twitter actively to go figure out how search.twitter.com works and RSS works, and start to create searches on your name, on your company names, and on your competitor names, and then use those RSS feeds, pump them into your Google Reader or your NetVibes or whatever it is you use, and start to really listen to the conversation and figure out who are the people talking about the stuff you're interested in, who subscribe to the next media hashtag here. Anyone? So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where you can follow along in conversation about the things that are relevant to you. So I think everyone, at least who has a Twitter account, should probably also have a Twitter search thing going on the things that they care about, so they're able to monitor the whole internet.
Shameless plug, that feature is integrated into Hootsuite, so you can monitor.
You don't need to be shameless. I'll actually let you talk about it here a little bit. I want to pause on the LinkedIn part for a sec, because I go to a lot of conferences and do this kind of stuff often, and we often hear a lot about Facebook and about Twitter. But LinkedIn is a part of this as well. And last night when we were talking, you guys are doing some pretty interesting stuff with LinkedIn. You want to tell us about that?
Well, sure. A lot of people ask me, how do you use LinkedIn, or what's the purpose? People will create a profile and not understand what to do. But there's a lot of participation that can take place there. There's lists and groups, questions, answering questions, and getting involved in conversation there is really excellent. But also just searching out people. Yeah. If you want to get in touch with the chief marketing officer of Cisco Systems, he's there.
Tell us about the LinkedIn group stuff you're doing.
Sure. We created a group for Twitter developers. That's one. So we administrate that group, which
put yourself right in the middle of the Twitter developer conversation.
Exactly. So we want to be a part of that because we're developing applications based around Twitter, right? So that's important to us to be part of that community, and that's just on the developer side. So that's more technical. It's not necessarily the marketing or anything, but then we participate in conversations on the marketing side and whatever initiatives are going on. And people are, some of it's a bit spammy, but some of it's there's decent conversations that you can pull out of that and participate in, and a lot of them. It's excellent. Sometimes I'll go in to answer a question and to promote something that we're doing, and other people are already doing it for us, just because the product is excellent, or it's achieving the goals that they're looking to achieve.
Relatively speaking, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn as well. I think to a certain extent amongst the three, since we're not talking about others, but there's...
we can talk about others as
well. I mean, actually, that's a point I want to come back to, but I think it's a bit of the sleeper amongst the three, partly because I think they've somewhat stuck more to their business fundamentals. Relatively speaking, they're the most profitable. They haven't turned on a lot of features that they could very easily turn on, and I think it's partly because they're taking a bit of a planful approach. To a certain extent, it's Facebook for business. And I think a lot of opportunity is out there. And it has a unique experience, too. I mean, most people, when we're networking, a lot, that's the first place I go.
How do you use it specifically?
Well, I mean, on the fun side, we kind of have an internal competition in the office where, you know, they used to have this thing where you could put a gold circle once you got to 500 contacts. So I got involved initially using it because I wanted to get that gold
So you're
circle because that was
collecting-
cool in my office.
You're collecting friends?
Yeah, but then as soon as I hit 500, which was about 3 days ago, it wasn't there anymore, so I was a bit disappointed. But I think more and more it's about the groups and Q&A. The question and answers is a unique piece that they have that I don't think any of the other social networks have effectively been able to capture because people know that it's a credible source.
It is very credible, and that's important. Is that you maintain your reputation on there, right? So if you're asking me to make an introduction to somebody that I know, I'm going to be extremely serious in evaluating you as a person and as a business person before I pass that along. So
You're not going to put your pictures of your Vegas trip up on LinkedIn because
Exactly.
you know the audience is going to be there. So I think it has a bit of a more focused outcome and direction than say Facebook.
but a lot of people I find are trying to add me on Facebook instead of
Yeah.
LinkedIn. It's too much of a mix for me, the business and that. So many times I just will ignore that or find them on LinkedIn. But I only add people who I actually know on LinkedIn, really, or that I've had some kind of contact with, any kind of interaction, just to keep it genuine and to keep it just that reputation high.
Dario,
on LinkedIn?
We haven't.
Dario, tell us about how you view the difference between the community around Twitter and the community around Facebook.
Okay, well, something that one way I look at it is Facebook is where you collect people that you know. Basically, these are people from high school or whatever, your family, friends, whatever. So these are people that you might not necessarily enjoy or interact with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, there's a reason why I don't hang out with half the people that I went to high school with. I'm not interested in what they're doing.
But you know everything about them now.
Well, sure. But whereas with Twitter, these are people that you find that are actually talking about something very interesting, and so following them has a much higher value to
You
me.
oftentimes don't know them.
I don't know them at all, and when you meet them in real life, if you ever do, you know, it's fantastic, and the conversation, you know, starts right away. It's just a really great way to feed in information and to meet people who are of like-minded.
Yeah, Facebook's a great way to
Right.
keep in touch with the people you didn't want to keep in touch with to a certain extent, and
The Christmas-
LinkedIn's a great way to keep in touch with the people you'd like to connect.
Facebook's awesome
exactly.
for the Christmas card list, and it's like less awesome for kind of like your close circle of friends, and it's pretty terrible for keeping in touch with like your kids or your wife or your family or something like that.
Right.
But it's really good for the Christmas card list.
So based on those two, like those philosophies behind them, I find Twitter to be far more valuable to me, both personally and professionally, than Facebook. I mean, photos on Facebook, fine. Events, that's fine. But communications, I loathe it.
Tell me a little bit about your Twitter workflow. Like, how do you interact with? So you wake up, Twitter's there, and how do you interact with it over the course of the day?
Well, I'm always looking at who's talking about our brand, all the products that we're running. Of course, Invoke in general. Myself, I break it up into multiple columns, so I'm keeping track of people in different locations, people who do matter to me that I actually know, and then people who I'm just monitoring or paying attention to. But I find it's really powerful because you can just jump in at any time. You can see what other people are talking about. There's a lot of trending that you can identify with.
How do you choose who you follow?
I think it's based on whether they're interesting to me or not. Sometimes they'll be in the industry that I'm in. Is that interesting? Sometimes that is. Sometimes it's not. I read through a bunch of their tweets. I look at if they're just looking to get as many followers as possible. That's something that is very uninteresting. I think it's disingenuous. I'm all about quality over quantity. Absolutely.